Today I'm going to tell you about a story entitled Moses, when Harriet Tubman led her people to freedom. But first, let me give you a little background about what's going on during this time. Can you imagine being captured from your home, from your friends and your family and your sports and your teams, tied down on a crowded ship and brought to a strange land? That is exactly what happened for thousands and thousands of African Americans in the days leading up to the Civil War. In a strange land, they were forced to work long and hot, miserable days under the constant threat of beatings and whippings if they did not please what they called their masters. Many of these slaves dreamed of escape, but most were too afraid of attempting to escape for fear of being caught and punished severely. Notice now, I said most, not everyone. There were a few brave individuals who broke free from the bonds of slavery and made their way out. Of those who made it to freedom, there were some who were so brave and courageous that they went back into the deep and dangerous South, can you believe it? To lead out more slaves to freedom. What emerged during this time was something called the Underground Railroad. This was no ordinary railroad like we have today. Instead, it was a railroad without any metal and without any coal. It was made up of brave slaves and freed men who made their way secretly into the South and led those who were weighed down with chains and oppression into freedom. Of these brave souls, there was one who was a leader of leaders. This leader faced dangerous dogs, guns, rivers, and hunger time and time again. Her name was Harriet Tubman. Carol Boston Weatherford's book, entitled Moses, is the story of one of the leaders in this moment who faced death consistently on her mission of leading people to freedom. Harriet Tubman was a slave to her master. He was selling her to the South to work with cotton, rice, indigo, or sugarcane. Harriet was going to never see her family again. She was terrified. She went into her cabin and enjoyed her last night with her family before she left for the next day. The next morning, Harriet tells not a soul her plan. She grips the axe to chop wood, breathes deeply, and murmurs, "Lord, I am going to hold steady to you." God whispers back in a breeze, "I'm going to see you through, my child." That night, Harriet sang songs, hoping her loved ones would be able to hear those songs. While the plantation sleeps, Harriet cries to the Lord for help. She is sick of being a slave. She needs and wants freedom. So that night, she begins what she thinks will be a successful escape. Running through the swamp, she hears frogs crowing, and her own heart is pounding. Crying out to the Lord, she keeps on going, knowing that He is with her. On her attempt to escape, Harriet finds herself creeping down in the woods. Her heart's fluttering. She hears hooves beating against the dusty pathways. "Oh no," she cries out again to the Lord, begging Him to keep her from getting caught, because she knows not only if she was caught would she still be a slave, but she would be getting a beating from her master.